Every woman in my family disappears at 18, and I turn 18 in 3 hours. This happens in my mother's family. All this disappearing business. I found out about it when I was 12. I was helping to organize the basement when a stack of old photo albums fell from a box. I muttered some words that my mother would have slapped me for if she saw before I started picking them up. One of them had fallen open, and I stopped when I realized I recognized the little girl in the photo. It was my mother. It was so strange to see her as a child with a ponytail and missing teeth, but I recognized the shape of her eyes. I decided to take a break and started looking through the album. My mother didn't talk much about her family, and curiosity killed the cat. But satisfaction brought it back. I saw my mother playing with her siblings, 3 older sisters and 2 brothers. I saw her sitting on her mother's lap while trying to learn to play the piano. And I saw the first family photo. Her oldest sister was probably in her late teens, and she had her arm around my mother's head. Her sisters were constantly teasing her, and she looked almost ready to kill them in every photo. They were quite somber photos. Something you would expect from the Victorian era, rather than snapshots. No one was smiling, except my mother. On the next page, her oldest sister had disappeared. There were no more photos of her. There were no photos of a funeral or anything like that. It was as if she had ceased to exist. Time passed. My mother went from ponytail to ponytail. There was a photo of her first piano recital. Her other siblings seemed fine. Although the second oldest grew increasingly somber over the years. She seemed to be the life of the party before the oldest sister simply disappeared. Now she was on the edge of the photos. Never smiling, sometimes smiling, never excited. Her time came to an end with a family photo as well. My mother wasn't smiling this time. I think by then she knew something was wrong. That wasn't a family photo to celebrate something happy. It was to have one last image to remember her by. She disappeared from her life after that photo, as if she had never been there before. The final sister seemed as carefree as ever. But she was closest in age to my mother, probably only a year or so older. If anything, she seemed more present in her photos than ever. Maybe she was trying to spend as much time together as possible before the end. My mother went from a ponytailed little girl to a skinny, nerdy teenager with braces and acne. Her final sister seemed to skip the awkward phase and went straight to cool. I bet she was the most popular girl in her class, but she still spent all her time with her little brother. The last family photo my mother couldn't hold together, unlike the serious and somber photo of the other 2. The photo blurred with movement as my mother clung to her sister. Tears streamed down her face as her whole family moved around her. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. They were all supposed to pose politely and have one last picture of their daughter. Instead, my mother was crying as her sister clung back to her. This once cheerful and cool image crumbling to a scared teenager who knew what was coming but had no way to fight it. It was in that photo. My mother came down to the basement, probably to check on my progress. The moment she saw I was looking, her face fell. I put the album away and asked my mother what had happened to her sister. I can't forget the look on her face. She looked dead. Sure, her sisters were the ones who had gone away, but she was the one who had to survive without them. They're gone now. They want the girls. She refused to explain who they were and fled to her room. She locked the door behind her and didn't come out for hours. When she did, she asked me not to talk about it, begged me to let it go. So I did. As her only child, her only daughter, I let it go. At first, I carried on as usual, but I couldn't let it go. I did my research. Missing persons reports took a while to find. But they were all there. Eva, Rachel, Abella. The 3 had disappeared on the night they turned 18. The cases were colder than ice. No trace of them ever surfaced. They were gone. They wanted them. I didn't know who they were, and I didn't think I would find out until tonight. But I had a date for my last day on Earth, so I decided to use my time wisely. I stopped making plans for college and started focusing on the here and now. I volunteered almost every weekend. If I wasn't in the community kitchen feeding the homeless, I was at the animal shelter helping socialize the dogs. After school, I made an effort to hang out with the kids no one else would. I ended up making some surprising friendships, people I would have never paid attention to before finding out I was doomed. I joined the photography club. I actually won a few local contests with my photos. I tried to inspire other people to dedicate themselves to something creative, something fun. Not to be good at it, just to enjoy themselves. Above all, I prioritized time with my mother. I'm the only real family she has. Maybe I was a bit of a mother myself, but it didn't matter. I didn't want to leave this world without making a difference. I think I did. And I had fun doing it too. A few more hours. It's so strange. The past few years have dragged on forever and also seem to pass in the blink of an eye. I feel I don't know what I feel. I'm certainly not ready to die or be abducted by whatever. But I don't have a choice. As far as I know, my mother is devastated. So I decided to do one last thing. I asked her to come down to the basement to show her what I prepared. Photos. 100 of photos from the past few years. Photos of us laughing, crying, just spending the day. I'm just stepping out, Mom. You'll always have these memories. I smiled. Maybe. Maybe I can look out for you from where I'm going. If I can, I will. I love you, Mom. She sobbed. But I think I made her feel a little better. I told her again and again how much I loved her. She whispered in my ear. I had to repay her somehow. I left her in the basement. She doesn't need to see what's going to happen to me. Now you can check for a second part by pressing share and more.